Hello everybody, welcome back to this week's live stream. Sorry I've been away for a few weeks. Don't have kids, they come back with germs and all sorts, and they get you ill. So that's the reason why I've not been around the last few weeks. So welcome back. Thank you for joining me if you are here. Today we're going to be talking about Rightmove's latest house price index, which has rattled a few people. Got a few people saying the wrong things in terms of what's happening with house prices right now. And we're going to go over that report. Also going to let you know, I did promise in one of my last live streams, I was going to let you know what the difference in agreed prices was from January this year for my office and January last year, so we can get a gauge of what I'm experiencing with actual offers accepted in my part of North Essex. So stick around for that. There'll be an update as well on the valuation I got chucked out of. Let you know whether that's sold or not, or what's going on with that property as well. So please do like the stream. It helps YouTube get it out there. If you are new here, please consider subscribing, because I do try and do a live stream every Wednesday, and we talk about all things property and what I'm experiencing in the world. So everyone who's here, thank you so much. Alex, good evening, my friend. I've missed you too. I've missed you too. It's been a tough couple of weeks. I've got some new gear. I've got a new screen. Been itching to use it. But yeah, I've just not had the energy. I've had conjunctivitis as well, so I couldn't see. It's not been a great couple of weeks for me. But glad you're still here. And yes, Taki, it has been a long time since the last live stream. I've missed it. I've really missed it. So I don't know how long this one's going to go for tonight, but we will go for probably half an hour, depending on how many people are here. I know Moving Home with Charlie is on right now, so a few of my regulars might be over there. But if you are here, please give us a thumbs up, and let's get into what what Rightmove are saying in terms of house prices. So let's get this over here. So monthly asking price change as prices static. So 0.0% change in asking prices according to Rightmove, which, if you remember last month's report, they said that house prices had gone up. Or this is asking prices, remember. This isn't actual sold prices or agreed prices, anything like that at all. So a static change in terms of asking prices, which you could look at one or two things. It could be you've got more higher properties coming onto the market, which is why the prices went up last month. A lot of people in bigger properties looking to sell their house while the market isn't as bad as it could get later this year or early part of next year. It could also be we've got a lot more cheaper properties coming onto the market that are selling pretty quick as well. Annual price growth 3.9%. Yeah, so it's still 3.9% more expensive on average. And the increase in buyer demand is 11%. Now, the key thing here is they have done this based on 2019's figures rather than last year's or the year before. But those figures are obviously a little bit skewed in terms of how busy estate agents were, how many buyers were looking, how many sellers were looking to sell as well. So I think to keep a positive spin on the property market, which Rightmove will want to do because this is their business, as what estate agents are doing and other sort of people in the property sector. By using 2019's data, they can put a positive spin on the figures. If they were to compare that to January last year and the year before, I'd imagine that wouldn't be a plus percentage. That would be a minus percentage. And I think a lot of agents will probably agree that the amount of people is definitely less than what it was last year and the year before. And I don't think any estate agent would question that. You just got to look at the amount of sales that are being agreed at the moment. It's definitely less than last year. Definitely less. I mean, us personally, my office, we're a little bit less. In fact, February, we're actually on course to sell more this February than we did last February, but January we sold 2 or 3 less. So there's definitely not as many people looking, but there is a lot more choice as well. So buyers have got a little bit more time on their hands, and a little bit more choice. So they haven't got to jump straight into bed with the first property they see and pay the price that the owner is asking for. So although theoretically, compared to 2019, there may be 11% more people looking, and I think this figure is actually done on their inquiries. So it could be the same person sending multiple emails to one agent or requesting the same details over and over again. So I wouldn't read too much into that personally. But let's go into what Rightmove say with their figures. So better than expected market surprises, many buyers return. Average new seller asking price remains flat this month, rising just £14. The smallest ever increase from January to February, and a sign that more sellers are heeding their agent's advice to price properties right the first time. Now, January and February are generally one of the months that house prices are, or asking prices with Rightmove, if my memory serves me correct, it's generally one of the biggest jumps in terms of asking property prices. So the fact that January was in line with the normal trend, February not being a high increase in asking prices, goes to show that hopefully more and more sellers are actually, as the report says, listening to the estate agents and pricing more realistically. And the ones that are priced realistically will be the ones that have come on in the last 2, 3, 4 weeks and have actually sold straight away. So that's what I'm telling my vendors when I'm valuing at the moment. This is the price which we think we can sell it for, based on X, Y, and Z data, evidence, what we've sold very, very recently. However, if in 3, 4 weeks we haven't achieved that price, we should be looking to reduce the property, hopefully only once, and that reduction will be enough to secure you a buyer. Doesn't always work, and some owners say yes on the valuation. They go, yeah, we can reduce the price after 3, 4 weeks, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't. This is what I've always said for the last few months. If you've seen a property that has been on the market for more than a month, that is one that is prime picking for making an offer on. Even if it's out your budget, still view it, still get in there, have a look and see if it's for you. You can see yourself living there for a number of years, and B, it's worth the money you want to offer. If those 3 things fall into place, put in your cheeky bid and see what the owner says. You'll be pretty surprised that most agents will try, if they think the offer's good and they're not going to get any better in the immediate future, they will try their best to try and negotiate that deal for the seller, to try and get that price agreed. Because the longer you're on the market, the less money you tend to get for a property. I think that's pretty common sense, but some owners don't realise that. So generally the first offer that an owner will get, most of the time, will generally be that the highest offer they're actually going to achieve on the property. So if they say no to that first offer and they sit on the market over 4 or 5 weeks, you as buyers will have access to this information. You have so much information as buyers to know when a property was put on the market, when it was reduced, by how much, how many agents it's been on the market with, that you can use all this information as part of your arsenal in when offering. So definitely don't be put off if a property is 5, 10, 15% out of your budget. Go and view it if it's been on the market for 3, 4 weeks and put in that offer that property is worth to you. And you may get a no, but at least if you ask the question, you'll know. And they may come back to you a few days later after sleeping on it, which does happen. They say no straight away to the offer, and then a week later they have no more viewings, and they come back cup in hand and saying, we would look at that offer now. And then you can decide whether you want to go ahead or maybe reduce your offer a little bit more and see and see if you can be a bit cheeky. Sorry, I went on a little bit of a tangent then, didn't I? So latest snapshot of buyer demand shows the number of people contacting agents is up by 11% in the last 2 weeks compared to the same period in 2019, the more normal market. But again, they're having to go to the more normal market to save the headline in saying that buyer demand is actually up rather than down, which I'd imagine the figures would say. The number of sales agreed continues to rebound and is now just 11% down on 2019 levels. Recovering from 15% down at the start of the year and 30% down aftermath of the mini budget. Yeah, we had a tough October a tough October for sales after the mini budget. I think a lot of agents did, but we are starting to recover. So I would agree with that to a certain degree. While there's still an overall shortage of properties for sale, down by 24% compared to 2019, there is more choice for buyers than a year ago, giving prospective buyers confidence for their onward move. Now, I looked at our figures during the COVID time for how many houses we took on the market. So we generally take on about 300 properties a year in my office. We have a separate office as well, which takes on probably half that as well. And we were down about 10%. So we had about 270 for sale during sort of the COVID years, 260 to 270. So we were, a good 10% down. Some months we only had, we got down. We normally have about 100 houses for sale. We got down to about 30, which was a little bit worrying. But anything we were taking on the market was selling like that. Whereas now, that's not happening. And now as more and more, as properties are taking longer to sell, and more people are coming onto the market, you will start seeing estate agents' register of properties getting bigger and bigger. So definitely a lot more choice for you buyers. Maybe not as much in the mortgage market, but certainly in the house buying and properties for sale, then you are getting a little bit more choice than what you were. The latest agreed figures show that surprisingly, it's first-time buyer sector that is recovering better than the discretionary upper sector. Now that interests me. First-time buyers who, let's be honest, you've been the main ones that have been hit recently in terms of the interest rates. When the mini budget was done, interest rates just went swap rates for banks, which is the rate which they borrow money from other financial institutions, went straight up, and they had to pass that increase of their costs onto you. Now, the reason why we haven't seen interest rates go up with the Bank of England is because how do I put this? Banks' rates that they charge us as lendees is based on swap rates, not necessarily just the Bank of England's base rate. Tracker mortgages and stuff like that will be directly affected by the Bank of England's base rate. So swap rates is the price that banks are charged to borrow money to lend you money. So I think after the mini budget, those swap rates went up to about 3.5%. So that was the minimum that banks would have to charge somebody just to break even when they gave money to you and me for a mortgage. So when they went up to 6%, they were making a 2.5% profit on those mortgage rates, which, I mean, that's what they're here to do. They're here to make a profit. But now we've seen, as the Bank of England rate is going up, the swap rates have leveled off, but also there's a little bit more competition with banks. They're now starting to fight against each other a little bit, which is making getting a mortgage a little bit more appealing. Nowhere near as appealing as what it was this time last year or the year before with really, really low interest rates, but they are definitely a lot better than what they were in October last year. I think a couple of banks are doing 5-year fixed rates at sort of 3.9 and 3.99% rates, which is a lot better than the 6%, 6.5% that we were being quoted only a few short months ago. So it doesn't surprise me that more first-time buyers are looking to come back to the market, or at least exploring their affordability now that interest rates have started to come down a bit, not by a lot and not at the rate that they went up by, but certainly becoming a little bit more palatable. Whether that stays the same or not remains to be seen. Hello, Tom. How are we? Been in the walls, mate. Yes. I'm not sure if you can tell from my voice. I don't have the beer this week. I've got water just to sort of soothe my throat. I've done a lot of talking today at work as well. A lot of talking. Fake news from IPD23. That's the whole point for this live stream. I think misleading figures from Rightmove. Where are we? As BBC put it, it's the lowest increase for February since the records began. Exactly, yeah. So we normally see January and February being a quite high peak in terms of asking prices going up as owners are more optimistic beginning of the year. We normally see a bit of a jump in the springtime as well. Be interesting to see if we see that in spring, so next month or two. But yeah, January and February, a lot of optimistic sellers putting their house on the market, and that generally means that the asking price goes up. But again, it's an asking price. It's not the actual selling price. But yeah, there were since they started in 2001, 2002, I think it is. So a bloody long time. Hello, Paul. How you doing, mate? Good to see you. If you haven't liked the stream, guys, that'd be great if you would. Really appreciate it if you can like the stream. Much appreciated. And if you are interested in speaking to my mortgage broker, if you do want to explore your options in terms of affordability with an independent mortgage broker, or if you have found a property and want to get a quote for how much it's going to be from a property lawyer, please email me. It's going down the bottom there, and I can put you in touch with someone. Here we go. Let's get more into this bit here. So what they're saying about first-time buyers. So, national average asking price by market sector, excluding inner London. So it looks like the lower end of the property market, as in the first-time buyer end, they are saying has actually gone up by 0.3%, those asking prices. So up from 222,582 to 223,249. And what's actually bringing down these asking prices is the actual top of the ladder, which I thought it would be I thought there's a lot more expensive properties coming onto the market, which would have pushed up the price. But it seems at the top of the ladder, it's actually come down by £6,300 in terms of asking prices. So that's interesting to see. Let me know what you're experiencing where you are, as always. So let's see what they have to say. The average price of property coming to the market rises by just £14 this month. This is the smallest increase from January to February on record. However, reflecting the slower market conditions, new sellers have broken with the traditional and held price static for the first time at this time of the year rather than increase them. Transitions from fast to a slower paced market have historically had many different paths, and whilst it's early days in the combination of sellers being more realistic on price and improving picture on the number of sales being agreed suggests a softer landing for the market than many expected. It is all just guesswork, guys. I mean, me, anyone else, you could pick a number and you could guess. Even with all the information out there, no one actually knows. It's been it's all guesswork. All you can do is get as much information as you can and make the best informed decision you can about the biggest purchase you're potentially going to make in your entire life. Don't just rely on me. Don't just rely on newspapers. You've got to do your own research because the buck stops with you. You can't blame me or anyone else if prices go up or down. Where are we, Taki? Got here. Mortgage rates still not appealing as low rates require 60% loan to value, such as they. Yes, but I think what they're talking about next week is that loan to value. That percentage will be a bit better. So you're going to start seeing maybe 70, 75%, which a figure which I'm sure I read was most buyers, whether that's first-time buyers or second home movers, have around 20% to put down with the help of mum and dad, nans and granddads, and the increase in equity that people have had over the last few years. So we are going to start to see those higher loan-to-value mortgages, Taki, sort of creeping into the market. It will take one lender to do it, and then another one will catch on, try and undercut, and we'll start seeing a little bit of price competition, I'd imagine. But they won't all do it at once or they'll just get inundated with offers, and they'll have to pull the deals from the market again, like they did in October, just after the mini budget. Tom, is there a way to find out if a house has previously been on the market with another agent? So what you can do, my friends, is, I've never actually tried this before, but you can go into certain things like price comparison report, and you can type in, I don't know, let's go, new postcode, go Essex. Now, as an agent, you can, let's go CO11. That's not my postcode, by the way. Oh God, I have to make one up. Well, on the back end of Rightmove, you can go into it's called a house price report, and you can type in the postcode, the address of the property, and it will give you the whole history of properties that have been listed on Rightmove. Now, that could be something I can do. If you're interested in that, you can give me the full address of the property. I could find that out for you guys. If that's something you'd be interested in, just ping me an email. Ping me an email with the address and the postcode, and I'll be able to tell you a bit more history about that property, how long it's been on the market for. Zoopla's generally pretty good as well. If you know the property address, you can go into, type in the postcode, into the house price bit, and then if you're logged in with Zoopla, it will give you the history of when it was on the market, if it sold, or if it didn't sell as well. That's normally the property history at the bottom. So, Tom, there is a way of doing it. You can either email me and I can look in the back end of Rightmove, or I'm sure you can go on on Zoopla, and find it out yourself. Entirely up to you, my friend. Hi, Leo. How are you? It has been a long time. I was having a chat with my wife yesterday. I said, I've not done many live streams this year. She goes, you've done about 5 or 6. And I looked at it, I've done 2. This is my 3rd live stream of the year. Yeah. I'm a bit out of sync with it. So let's see how it goes. Gavin will fix it, or Gav will fix it. Yeah, fix my sore throat, mate, because that'll be helpful. Still think we've not seen the worst of things yet. Bank of England and the government are doing some shady stuff. Rental is goosed and driving renters by. There's a lot of talk about renting being cheaper than mortgages right now. I think for the first time in a long time, mortgages are more expensive, or were more expensive than renting. And we're going to be seeing a lot of landlords passing on these rent increases. They're increasing mortgage payments onto their tenants. They might not be able to pass the whole amount onto their tenants, because a lot of landlords are on interest-only mortgages. So if the interest rate goes up, the whole amount goes up. So if their interest rate doubles, goes from 2% to 4%, their mortgage payment doubles, and they're not making as much money, or no money at all, if that's the case. But no, at the moment, I think mortgages and rents are level-ish. So some people may find renting is a better or a cheaper way of living at the moment, especially if you've got no maintenance with your house. But what I'd imagine we're going to be seeing over the next year or so will be on I lost my train. I read a comment and lost my train of thought. But I think, renting will become more expensive as more and more landlords' fixed rate mortgages do come to an end. That's my impression. And maybe their mortgages may be a bit cheaper to buy. Tom wrote, my method is to subscribe to all the sites for updates. Then when the house comes to market as returned, then I have a way to search my email. You can use, yes, definitely do that. The last link is a property log to Chrome. I might have missed that link. Not the cost, the availability in bigger cities. I know 3 people trying to rent and can't even get a viewing. There will be. In my town, we have a severe lack of rental properties, and we've got a lot of landlords selling right now. I've got one particular landlord who's been doing it for 20 years. As his tenants are moving out or giving notice, buying, down, whatever it may be, they're selling because the government have made it harder to make profit. They reduced how much money you could claim back on the interest payments on your mortgage, and now the interest rate's going up and rent's not going up as quickly as the interest rates. A lot of tenants, or a lot of landlords are just selling to get out of it. A lot of seasoned landlords are getting out of it. I can tell you that by just my own register of landlords that are putting their properties on the market as and when tenants are giving notice, rather than trying to find a new tenant for more rent. It's a case, I'm getting rid. I've had enough. So that is going to fuel the shortage of properties and may also increase the rents because of demand. If a landlord's got 5 or 6 people after the same property, then you may get some tenants also asking for a little bit or paying a bit more than what they want to try and secure it. Where are we? Let's go back to the report. Where do we get to? Transactions from far. Yeah. So we're definitely getting more people looking. Definitely getting more houses for sale. We are still selling properties at a decent rate. My office, with the leading agent in our area, we've sold about 10, 15 more houses more than our closest competition. So we are one of the busier estate agents in my area. And we've certainly noticed a drop off, but not as much as some areas. But Rightmove is saying that it looks like that sales are starting to sort of hold fast a little bit. They go on to say, the big question this month was whether we would see new sellers increasing their asking prices, as has been the yearly normal as we approach the spring selling season. This month's flat average asking price indicates that many sellers are breaking with tradition and showing unseasonally initial pricing restraint, in addition to market conditions demanding greater realism on price. 100%. There are some owners who are doing that and they're selling quickly. The unrealistic owners are sitting on the market for weeks and weeks and weeks, months and months and months. Where do we get to? We are transitioning into a slower paced market. I think that's been like that since last year, where buyers will take longer to find the right property at the right price due to higher costs and servicing a mortgage. And also, you're not being forced into making a split-second decision. After a 5-minute viewing, last year and the year before, you were having to make a really, really quick decision on whether you should buy a property or not, because there was somebody due to view straight after you and you had to make a decision that day or even that afternoon or morning whether you wanted to buy it or not, because you could have missed out. You could have missed out. It's absolutely crazy. Whereas now, you don't have to. Oh, let me just get rid of that for a second. There we go. There are other indicators that this will be a softer rather than hard transition despite the turbulence at the end of 2022. Homeowners who are coming to market in the upcoming spring season should use their agent's expertise and get price right the first time, which can really help to find the right buyer more quickly. 100%. But as I'm sure a lot of you guys are noticing, there's a lot of people who aren't pricing their properties realistic. And there are agents, there are valuers out there who price a property just to get it on the market and then don't care whether it sells or not. And those are the agents you want to try and avoid. And I think Moving Home with Charlie done a great video on how you should pick the best estate agent. So I definitely recommend checking out his video on that or live stream on that, because there's a lot of agents who will value just to get their commission for getting you on the market and don't give a toss if you sell or not, because they've already got their money. That's probably why Purple Bricks went wrong, because they didn't care. They signed you up, they got their £1,000, £1,200. Didn't care if you sold or not because they had your money. No incentive. And an agent needs incentive to sell a property. If you're paying them up front, then there's no incentive. And if a valuer or an estate agent is getting paid by their boss just to get a house on the market, they've got no incentive to try and sell your property for the price that they quoted. It's absolute, don't get me started on my industry. Hi, Miss Detox. Hey Lee, sorry to hear that you haven't been feeling well. I'm sure it's a side effect from the COVID jab. Like you, I just can't seem to shift this cold either. I've not had the fourth one. I've had 3 of the jabs. I keep getting texts to say I can get the 4th one, but I've not. I've had COVID. I've had 3 of the jabs. I've just not got around to getting the 4th jab. I don't think it's COVID. It feels different to COVID. Just ill kids, just spreading their germs. Back to school and spreading the germs. Right. Though it's still early in the year, this month's key metrics suggest that many buyers are seeing reasons to get on with their moves and have the confidence to return to the market, which so far is stronger than many expected. I will give them that. We were a little bit worried in January as to what we were coming back to after the Christmas break. Although it wasn't a break, we were still open. But after a cold start in January, you got no viewings really that happened in between Christmas and New Year. You do wonder what kind of year it's going to be, or start of the year it's going to be. And we were pleasantly surprised it wasn't as bad as we had imagined. Nowhere near as bad as we imagined, but it wasn't as good as last year. And I'll get onto the price difference very, very shortly. The number of potential buyers contacting agents is up 11% in the last 2 weeks compared to the same period. We've gone over that. This demand is beginning to translate into sales, as the number of sales agreed is now just 11% down on the same period in 2019. That's still down. It's still down. Interest rates were still low in 2019. 11% down. Yeah. I would hazard a guess it's probably a little bit more than that for most agents. It'd be really handy to see all their data, but there's definitely agents in my town who are well less than 10% sales agreed. We're probably around, we're maybe around 10%. That's probably more 5% down on last year. But there are some agents who are feeling it bad, really, really bad at the moment. Where are we? Picking up from 15% down at the start of the year and vastly improved from the 30% down in the aftermath of them. So they pick and choose. They pick and choose when they compare to 2019 and last year. So this is quite a remarkable turnaround given the rapid increase in mortgage rates less than 6 months ago. Perhaps even more surprising, it is sales in the first-time buyer sector which are holding up most strongly and are down only 7% on 2019. They define a first-time buyer not by an individual, by the type of property. So if they see flats and small houses selling, they presume that these people buying these are first-time buyers buying them, because that's generally where the market is in terms of what first-time buyers can afford. But what they don't probably take into consideration is not everyone buys a cheaper place is a first-time buyer. You've got a lot of people who are downsizing in this market to cut costs. So I wouldn't read too much into Rightmove saying that it's first-time buyers buying at the moment and propping up the market, because it really isn't. I'd imagine it's a lot of people looking to downsize rather than you first-time buyers looking at buying a property. And again, let's like the stream, please, guys, if you'd be so kind. If you'd be so kind. And we're going to go enough of that. Enough of their rubbish. Enough of their rubbish. Let's get back onto what I've found this year in North Essex compared to last year, January asking prices. Now, because I was in a rush, as I always am on a Wednesday due to these live streams and leaving work leave work at 6:30 and I don't get into home until 7:15 because I see the kids, eat dinner, see the wife and get this set up. But we noticed a £1,350 drop in agreed price in January this year compared to last year. I also went over the figures for those prices we agreed in January last year. I looked at the price that was agreed after we'd exchanged contracts, and there was only a slight drop of, we're talking about £3,000 out of all the sales that we agreed in January last year, and they were due to survey issues and other bits and pieces like that. But the thing that we've noticed is that there was only about £1,300 drop in agreed prices from January last year to this year. I'll do the same again at the end of February. I'll compare February to February this year. And as we go through the year in these live streams, we will get a non-biased, open discussion on what I'm experiencing with agreed prices and the month that they were agreed. So I'm quite excited to share that, because we will see month by month what is actually happening with agreed sales. And yeah, you'll hear it from me first before Land Registry of what's happening in this part of England or this part of Essex. But yeah, so that's what's going on. Asking prices, agreed prices down about £1,300 compared to last year in my part of North Essex. Let me know what you think's happening where you are. I know some people are saying when they're emailing me that prices haven't shifted. Some are still going up, unbelievably, and some are experiencing houses reducing a hell of a lot of money, which is good if you're looking to buy. Mr. Detox got a question. If a house has a conservatory, how much additional value does it add? Basically, saw a 2-bed house going for £200,000 with one. I think it's crazy. I always say to sellers that conservatories generally add on what they cost. So if it costs 10 grand for a conservatory, you could generally add on £10,000. It's not a money making exercise for a seller. And if I was a buyer and I didn't need a conservatory and there was 2 identical houses, one with a conservatory at 200,000 or one for £190,000, I would probably go for the £190,000 one. I wouldn't pay more for something I don't need. And this is where what a property is worth comes down to the individual person, i.e. you, because everyone will have a different value for every property in the whole of the world. There's so many different things that come into what a property is worth, which makes it very hard to value. But the location might be more preference to you than it would be me. You might have a family member that lives down that road, so being close to them is worth more than you. Being in a catchment area for a school might be more important for you and you pay more than for somebody else. So if you want a conservatory, then people will pay more for certain things, and a conservatory is one. But £200,000, depending where you are, Miss Detox, I forgot if you've ever told me where you are in the world. But a 2-bedroom house where I am, get the camera, would be about 2 to 230, depending on if it's mid-terrace, semi, and condition. Yeah, that doesn't sound like bad value, but it all depends where you are and if you want to pay £10,000 extra for a conservatory. I personally, would I probably would. You can never have enough space, especially if you've got kids. You can always have more space. Always need more space. Right, so let's catch up with the valuation I got chucked out of earlier in the year. So for anybody who's new here, for one of the first live streams I've done this year, or the first live stream I've done this year, I told you about a valuation which I was thrown out of because I was honest with my price. So they bought the property through us a year ago. Done a very light refurb, some doors and a new kitchen and a bit of paint. And they want to put it on the market for £100,000 more than what they paid for it. I said it's probably worth £25,000 to £30,000 more than what they paid for it. And when I said that, gave them the evidence, they basically chucked me out of the property. And I said, look, as I was leaving, please let me know if I'm wrong. If you sell, I'd love for you to call me and rub it in. Let me know that I was wrong. Stick two fingers up at me. Do what you want. But yeah, let me know. And he goes, I'm not going to bother. So now we are 6 or 7 weeks into that house sale. And that property is still on the market for the same price. And every time I look, I get nervous because I think if that's sold, I fucked up. And I won't live it down for my colleagues in the office. But 6-7 weeks on, it's still on the market for the same price. And the agent is known for overvaluing and just leaving stuff on the market and not selling as much as they could if they did actually price correctly to begin with. But you will get that. And I'm going to keep a very close eye on that. And I will call the agent if it does sell to find out what it actually achieved. And I will share it with you if it did sell or not. So, yeah. So that's still not on the market. That's still not sold. House prices in my area, for ones I've agreed, are about £1,300 less than last year. And we will keep going back over that month on month and compare that to see if we're noticing a decline, which I'm sure we're going to. I'm not for once saying we're not going to see a house price correction or some sort of drop. I personally just don't think it's going to be the big drops that some commentators are expecting. And my reason for that is it's just my opinion. I think we may see 10, maybe 15% around the country. But that is just my humble opinion. My opinion is just as valid as yours and vice versa. So let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen with prices, not what you hope. And I think that's key. I mean, as an estate agent, I hope house prices keep going up. As a homeowner, I hope house prices keep going up. But what is your unbiased, if you can have one, of what you think is going to happen with house prices? 10 to 15% is what I think. I don't know how long that will be. I think we'll see most of the drops maybe happening towards the end of this year, maybe going into early next year. And then we might see a levelling off. I think that's what the ONS are saying, that 10% this year and then starting to grow in 2024. I don't think we're going to see growth in 2024. But again, that is just my opinion. But I've got no data to back it up because nobody has a crystal ball to predict. Each market crash is completely different. Different things are at fault for why house prices are going up and down. So it's difficult to say, right, because this was what happened last time, this is what's going to happen this time. People may disagree with me with that, but I think if it was that easy to predict, then people wouldn't have bought in the last 2 years. They would just waited for this year if things were that easy. But yeah, let me know in the comment section how much you think price is going to go down. Let me know if you think I'm right or wrong. And if you do want to speak to a solicitor, independent mortgage broker, drop me an email, lee@leeeverettproperty.co.uk. It's been a pleasure seeing you guys again. I hope to be back next week, although I might be doing these every other week. I'm not sure yet. I'll let you know if I am. Yeah, been lovely seeing you guys. Thank you for joining me and sticking with my croaky voice. And I'll see you hopefully next week or the week after. Take care.